Hello and good evening. My name is Kegan Chandler, and I'm very excited to tell you about my new book coming out very soon from Wipf and Stock publishers in the United States, Constantine and the Divine Mind, the Imperial Quest for Primitive Monotheism. This new book is a product of several years of research into Emperor Constantine the Great and into his religious world, a world which he, for better or for worse, shaped forever. This book first began as a project under the supervision of Dr. Joseph Early Jr., a church historian and associate professor of religion at Campbellsville University, and a project which has now taken on a life of its own and I think turned into something both interesting and, I believe, very helpful for solving one of history's greatest mysteries, the religious conversion of Constantine. The foreword to this book was graciously provided by Dr. Dale Tuggy, professor of philosophy for many years at the State University of New York, and a real expert on monotheism and on philosophy of religion, and someone who was extremely helpful at several points during the writing process. And I'm just extremely happy and honored that he got to be a part of this project. In this video, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Constantine and about his religious conversion and why I wrote a book about it, and also to tell you a little bit about how this book compares to other books on Constantine out there in hopes that you will want to check it out for yourself. And I think many of you will be interested. This book should prove interesting for anyone who is attracted to the history of Christianity, the Roman Empire, and even in subjects like the psychology of religious conversion and the challenge of religious diversity. No doubt, Constantine is one of the world's most famous and arguably most important religious converts. In fact, his conversion marks one of the most significant turning points in the story of how Western civilization, as it stands today, ultimately came to be. And Constantine has therefore rightly commanded a significant amount of attention from scholars over the last century. And yet, despite all of this writing, Constantine's dramatic turn to the Christian God remains to this day one of the most controversial and hotly debated episodes. Indeed, why did Constantine convert? Did he convert? When did he convert? And what kind of Christian did he ultimately become? Such questions have challenged historians for a very long time, but many are not aware that modern scholarship has now opened up a new door towards understanding the 4th century's most famous and yet most mysterious convert. In Constantine and the Divine Mind, I offer a new portrait of Constantine as a deeply religious man who found himself on a dramatic quest to restore what he believed was the original religion of mankind. And by tracing this quest, I illuminate the elusive process by which Constantine embraced Christianity and how the reasons for that embrace ultimately continued to manifest in his religious policies throughout his career. And if that sounds like a tall order, then you're right, and I hope you'll end up as convinced as I am by the evidence that I've uncovered along the way. The book itself is rather academic, but its style and its very short length, I think, make it accessible to anyone, especially anyone interested in Constantine, in church history, and in late Roman history. Compared to other titles on the market, I believe this book is entirely unique. Other recent books on Constantine are more biographical in nature, or they entertain a broad range of Constantinian issues, or they look to confront Constantine's influence on later Christianity. But as far as I know, this will be the first book to both focus exclusively on the theological reasons for Constantine's famous conversion, and to also offer a new historical proposal which challenges recent views on the subject. No other title on the market, as far as I'm aware, explores Constantine's relationship with monotheism or with pagan traditions as directly and as thoroughly as this book. Um, and I do look to move beyond recent assessments of Constantine's religion in many important ways. Namely, I emphasize the impact that both trends in pagan monotheism and in late antique historiography, I consider the impact that those trends had on Constantine's own understanding of religious history, on his self-image in the context of that history, and ultimately his religious policies. I don't want to give too much away about the book, but this will be the first book to argue that the reason why Constantine converted to Christianity was because he believed it could assist him in resurrecting the original religion of mankind. Therefore, it's the first study to engage all the Constantinian sources. The coins, the monuments, the speeches, the biographies. It's the first study to engage all of that evidence through the lens of a unified, overarching theological meta-narrative. And just to go a bit deeper, it's also the first book to it's also the first close consideration of the theology and the historiography of the important Hermetic text, the Asclepius, and its connection to Constantine's propaganda. And it does so in light of broader monotheistic trends in the Greco-Roman religious world. And in addition to analysis of Constantine's monotheism, the book also provides a new investigation and interpretation of Constantine's Christology, his views of Jesus at the time of the Council of Nicaea in 325. And it does so in a way that challenges recent scholarship and in a way that I hope sheds better light on his interactions with the so-called Arian controversy. And all of that should prove very interesting to readers who are interested in the development of Christian doctrine and in Trinitarian controversies. Included in this book are also applications of recent research into the psychology of religious conversion, into religious pluralism, and the impact, and it looks in light of that research at the question of Constantine's policies, and ultimately allows me to map out a new picture of the process of Constantine's conversion, and then to compare that with other Roman pagans of late antiquity. And that's all just scratching the surface, really. And if you think that that is a lot to cover in a book as short as this one, then you are absolutely right. It's really filled to the brim with information, but I think the book successfully moves along at just the right pace and with just the right amount of drama to make you wonder where all the time went. At least that's the sense that I get, and I do very much hope that you will feel the same way. So to wrap this up, please do be on the lookout for more updates about the release of this book, and I hope that you'll decide to pick it up and to meet me in the 4th century to investigate one of the most important events in the history of Christianity and in the history of the Western world, a subject which has had far more impact on you and your religious life than you're probably aware of. Thanks again to everyone for all your support as usual, and I hope you enjoy. God bless.